All right, everyone. Israel is reiterating its goals once again for the world to hear. We're in Gaza to completely cripple and destroy Hamas. We're going to be there for a while because Hamas has, an enormous tunnel network and a lot of other shit going on in Gaza. And so we're going to have to smoke the snakes out of the grass, so to speak. Well wishes on destroying all of Hamas. It would be a better world without them in it. The problem is that condemnation is beginning to mount. Again, part of it is optics more than anything else. When a much smaller, numerically inferior force with considerably inferior technology attacks you, even if the attack is a significant one, the original Hamas incursion into Israel was, like a red alert situation. It's not the normal Hamas attack where you have a couple of people get abducted, or a few dozen rockets are fired into Israel, and Iron Dome nails most of them. It was a significant incursion. The reason why more damage is going to be done, of course, is when you've got 5,000 rockets coming your way, and Iron Dome is overwhelmed at that point. Doesn't help when Hamas sends in its Air Force, by the way, which was quite interesting that they have developed that particular military theory. It's understandable, therefore, that Israel has finally said enough is enough, but it looks like the rest of the world is now telling Israel that enough is becoming enough. You've got the UN trying to broker a ceasefire. That fell through. Honestly, I side with Israel on that particular fixture because relying upon the UN to conduct diplomacy on your behalf is a bad idea, and the UN shouldn't at this point even exist. Then, though, when you've got all the aid organizations saying, we can't cope with this situation, you're getting dangerously close to choking out an enormous number of civilians, and they're not combatants. They're not actually members of Hamas. Many of them are women and children anyway. They're not fighting you, and you force them out of half of this region of land into the other half, and now it's impossible to even provide aid to these people, and they can't evacuate, so you sort of got them cornered. The problem is that over the coming however long it takes, while Israel continues to bomb the area and stage land incursions, is that it's going to give credence to the long-term claim, and this is certainly people who tend to support Palestine make this claim, and it's not entirely false, that Gaza is a prison. The problem is, under normal conditions, prisoners at least have a bed, and they have 3 hots and a cot. That's what they have. And, they can dawdle around in the lunchroom, they get a little bit of sunlight, and people aren't bombing them. Usually they have a place to sleep, etc., etc. Israel has effectively deprived most of the Gazan population, though, most of which, again, are civilians. They're not Hamas sympathizers in any way. And I don't know that there's any solid and reliable polling for the claim that the average Palestinian supports this. I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure the average Palestinian is not inclined to deal with the present situation. Just like I don't believe when people say, well, all of the Israelis are just gung-ho to eliminate the Palestinians now. I don't necessarily believe that. Is there any reliable polling on the opinion of Israelis towards Palestinian civilians? And we know what the average person's going to think about Hamas. Just like we know what the average Hamas member thinks about Jews, but that doesn't speak for the entire population. I find the bloodlust that I'm seeing from some people, combined with, oddly enough, a right-wing push for censorship, like with student unions that are speaking their mind on this subject, including groups of high schoolers now. Did you see that the other day? I find it to be alarming, actually. The war that's going on over there does not directly impact me. That's why I strenuously say to people, I'm not Team Palestine, I'm not Team Israel, I'm Team United States. But when the mission creep becomes an attempt in the US or Europe or something to prevent people from even flying a Palestinian flag, or to dox and punish students, again, high schoolers now, not even college kids, they're not even adults, punish some 17-year-old kid for having the Palestine backpack or something, and trying to limit their speech, I find that to be reprehensible. Actually, that directly impacts the nation that I pay taxes to, so I actually do have skin in that game. The unfortunate part about the whole thing is that it doesn't look like there's really a solution, though. I don't believe that short of leveling all of Gaza and turning it into a literal parking lot, Israel is capable of rooting out Hamas. They have still become technically the elected government of Palestine. They're mainly operating in Gaza, not much going on over in the West Bank other than, of course, protests and occasional bulldozer usage. How are you actually going to get rid of the entire organization to the point where it's no longer capable of recruiting? Would be my question. Likewise, Hamas clearly is not going to prevail in its goal, which by and large is, as their deputy, I think, head stated the other day, to expel the Jews from the area. Well, you've got two sides that fundamentally can't win their entire goals. So they just keep fighting. Now, sometimes they stop fighting for a while. Like in this region of the world, if you go a month without a Hamas rocket attack, you you think peace is going to start breaking out. Don't worry, next month there will be an extra one to make up for it. A month without an IDF airstrike in Gaza is also a rarity. It happens quite frequently. This latest fighting is notable mainly for the size of the fighting that's going on, for the original attack and the counterattack, as opposed to the fact that attacking is going on. Israel has made its goals clear. They're being condemned now, though, by much of the international community. The problem for them becomes that in a long-haul war, which is what they're pledging to, they're saying that it's going to last a long time. As you have more incursions and more casualties mount, and especially if you end up with people that they're not even dying in combat, they're literally dropping dead from thirst or exhaustion or something, at some point you approach the level of war crimes. Now, Israel will point out, well, Hamas is doing more crimes. We're just retaliating. That's fine. No, nobody has a problem with that. The issue is that most of the people dying aren't Hamas members. So you can see that there becomes a problem. You say, well, 1,000 Israelis were killed. Yeah, but once the number of Palestinians killed is 20 or 30,000, people are going to notice that those numbers are a little bit lopsided. It doesn't even matter who you support in this particular thing, if anyone. Again, I don't support either side. I find this just to be a bunch of barbarism. But optically speaking, the long-haul invasion thing doesn't work well. There are only a few nations in the world that can make it work long-term. Eventually, even their own population begins to begrudge it. I imagine that at some point there will be protests in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, and it'll be Jews that are doing the protesting. By the way, optically, that'll be very difficult for the United States supporters of Israel in Congress to explain to the public why that's happening. Pro tip, it's already happening. It's just I expect it to get much larger over time. And I know you can always hope that peace breaks out in this region, but again, it'll be a while. I have a feeling that much of this at this point is mostly retaliatory. It's not even necessarily focused on the stated mission. That's about all. Peace out.